guys. Man, that was really good. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are thrilled that you have chosen to be with us here today at the Center of Unity. We are excited about this service. We have Pat and Glenn Moore here. That is very exciting. If you haven't ever heard them,
fantastic.
They just bring it to you. They just bring the meat right to you. You don't even have to pick gristle. It's just all meat. Just all meat. So let's go ahead and get started here, Bob. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning and welcome again to the Center of Unity. We are delighted that you have chosen to join us this morning. We are so delighted. You could have been outside this morning drinking coffee or raking leaves. Some of that needs to be done in my house. And you know, the funny thing is you actually could be outside drinking coffee right now because we're doing TV church. That's kind of what I've called it now. We're doing TV church. There's lots of things that you could have chosen. But you're here with us. You're here with us in spirit, and we appreciate that. If you're joining us for the first time or for the gajillionth time, we have a saying around here, free of judgment and full of love. Free of judgment and full of love. See, people inherently need love. Love serves as this kind of moral compass in our reason sometimes for getting up and putting one foot in front of the other. Love grounds us, and love creates focus for us, direction, motivation, and sometimes even joy. And see, God is love. And the two are actually interchangeable. God is love, love is God. And as you've chosen to be with us here this morning, I pray that the love of God fills you. That there is something this morning that stirs you and wakens you, that you can recognize and receive the love of God for you, because there is absolutely nothing like it. God is the first and the final source of all love. Let's pray real quick. God, we are here today as a body, and we all come together in spirit, Lord, and we ask that you would touch each one of us in our spirit. Open our minds, open our hearts. Let us receive you here this morning. We thank you so much for Pat and Glenn and the message that they're going to bring. We bless you and thank you again. Amen.
Good morning. I'm here to talk today about the core value of the day. Our community has a mission, and that mission is we inspire spiritual growth through prayer, education, and sacred service. We also have a vision centered in God. We envision a world free of judgment and filled with love. How appropriate these mission and values are at today's time. We have core values that we agreed upon as a community. Those are spirit-led, service, inclusive, joy, and prosperous. The core value that I'll talk about today is spirit-led. Our community aspires to be led by spirit, as do many of us as individuals. We seek to discern the guidance of spirit in our individual lives, as well as in the life of our spiritual community. And ideally, once we have sought that guidance, we then act upon it as we move forward in our decision making, in our decisions as to how to proceed and what next steps to take. To truly be spirit-led requires a constant attention to attuning ourselves through prayer and meditation to the divine. These are daily practices, and the guidance we receive seems to grow stronger with diligent practice. The foundation for prayer, meditation, and becoming spirit-led is laid upon faith. Faith, as defined by Barnabas, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith knows that it has already received and acts accordingly, doubting nothing. It is that which is brought into manifestation all that has ever existed. As we seek to exercise our faith and use it through prayer and meditation on a daily basis, guidance surely appears, and we have the privilege of becoming spirit-led in both our personal and community lives.
Good morning. Here are the 5 unity principles. There is one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives, God the good, omnipotent. The divinity is in all humankind. Jesus was not the exception, rather the example. We have direct access to God through prayer and meditation. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking, feeling, and acting. We can demonstrate now the good we desire. And now our daily word. Our daily word today is forgive. I extend forgiveness to myself. Throughout my life, I have forgiven those who have hurt and disappointed me. In turn, I have been grateful when others extended understanding and forgiveness to me. Even though I have learned to be forgiving with others, I may still find it difficult to forgive myself for mistakes I've made, disappointments I have caused, and commitments I have broken. Today I open my heart, and with love and compassion I forgive myself. I remind myself that everyone makes mistakes and deserves understanding and forgiveness, even me. I remember how the prodigal son's father received him with joy when he came home. This joy is mine when I let go of self-condemnation and finally come home to myself. Luke 15:20, but while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran out and put his arms around him and kissed him.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody out there in your home, here, wherever you are. We talked about the direct access to God, and we have that every minute of every day. So let's take that direct access. I would invite you to sit in your chair, remove everything from your lap, and just snuggle in, trying to keep your spine erect so that the So let us breathe in. Breathe in deeply to the count of 4. And exhale to the count of 4. Blowing anything out in your body does not feel like God. Breathe in and breathe out. And let us focus with our breath on that direct access. Knowing that every cell of our body is a receptacle. It's not just the physical ears that hear. We hear things in many ways. So let's imagine for a moment that our receptacle for hearing God is located in the center of our brain. And with every inward breath, focus to that physical area of your body, the center of your brain, breathing in and breathing out. Just imagine a quiet room where you can bring anything into that room with you. A beloved, a concern. But that is the room that you've reserved for hearing and talking to God, that place, that point of direct access. And any time you can breathe in and go to that place. God is intimate to you. You have that receptacle, not only there, but in every cell, that receives the information that you are perfect, you are whole, that every organ, every action, and every reaction of your body is in harmony with the divine creative spirit. Just feel that presence of God as pure light. Imagine you're in that room and that whole area lights up and then trickles throughout your body. That healing presence, that divine light. And you always, always have direct access. That is your right and your privilege. Breathing in, exhaling, knowing that you are one with all that is, every moment of every day, that God is speaking to you. Because you are a part of God. You're never separate. God is present for you, to you, and through you. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. This feels so good being back. It's like a homecoming to me, you know. The only thing I can't get used to is, where is the audience? I mean, I'm used to it being a few more anyway. I wanted to chat with you a little bit about listening to the voice within. Do you ever think about how that we are made up in such a way that it's supposed to be very easy, simple, and very practical listening to the voice of God within us? But what happens, we get so distracted by the world itself, and this sort of interrupts the easiness of it. Do you see what I'm trying to say? I wanted to read a scripture. This is Psalms 19, 1 through 4. It's just King David's view of what this is like. And here's what he's saying. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, and their words to the ends of the world. And then in the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, we read these words. And this is speaking the same thing. He reveals deep and hidden things. He reveals what is hidden in the depth of darkness. Now, that shows you that whatever this is about communication, God is doing his or her part, right? What it takes to work through all of the distractions is a sense of determination. I've learned that nothing can get us down that we can't overcome, nothing that we can't overcome with determination. And this is listening to the voice of God is just this way. And I think maybe it was intended to wind up this way with distractions because we've got to care enough to work through distractions. Do you see the point? Not only that, but when the distractions come, we've got to overcome that. We've got to work through that. And what gives us that ability is there is that determination within us, a sense of we will not be deterred from knowing what God has in mind. One of the things that I've always thought about, I'm not really saying this is the fact or not, I'm thinking more of my own life than say in general, but I grew up listening to a minister. This is when I was pretty small, but from the sense that I got, and it may be just my interpretation, my only interpretation, but it felt like God was someplace remote and I was here basically alone, or not alone is the right word, but separated, that God being out here and me being down here. And so as a result, I felt like that probably that I was not worthy of getting a message from God. I think I grew up that way. And I don't think it's too unusual because listening to other people, I frequently hear people say that, that's the part. I remember the expression that I believe in God, I'm just not sure about God believing in me. So think about that, because it is the desire and determination that works us through all of the distractions. And then when we think about it, God speaks to us in so many different ways. Think about this. But he's constantly trying to get our attention. Never doubt that. There's something that the universe is constantly trying to attract us and guide us, whether we're listening or not. But frequently, I believe it's through visions. I'm not sure that what I have or what I've experienced has been visions, but I do know that that's a means of communication as God gives us visions of what's right. Now, I have had dreams, because I believe in dreams being a source of inspiration. I know that at times when I've had construction problems, I would dream of my dad, who was really very good in construction. I grew up with a guy that knew. And it's funny how that in a dream, and I could tell the difference. I mean, you dream sort of and then you dream specifically. But frequently, there would be times that it seemed like there was a communication going on that had to do with what I was doing at the time. Now, I could never figure out why that my mother only one time in a dream was giving me instructions. And I've gone through a divorce. I've had a lot of negative things happen. And I was just beginning to date Pat. And my mother, her words were, "Glenn, whatever you do, don't screw this one up." Now, So we do have dreams, and sometimes it's instruction. Do you know that was a good idea? I've learned that like 40 years later now. I can say, boy, that was great. I'm glad I listened. But there is the inner voice. Now think about this one, because so many things come up. I know that in my life, that one of the things that I reached a point to where I didn't really want to decide in construction, the business I'm in, what jobs belong to me. So my prayer would always be, in some way, make it impossible to get this thing if it's not mine. The only ones I want are the ones you've designated for me. In other words, that's my prayer, and that's my point of view, and it's a determined way or attitude of mine, and it's amazingly worked out that it seems like that the right people, and I have to say, it's sort of a strange thing staying in a construction business that has to do with erosion control and things like this, working in a creek or whatever, which I have been doing a lot this year, but to still be doing it at 86, you know. That's the thing that sort of surprises people. I mean, but I've met some of the most wonderful, wonderful people. This is the thing that, and I think about, had I been retired or just, I would never have met these people. So I keep on with this attitude of just please get me to where I'm supposed to be. I took that attitude about churches. I've been the minister of 4 Unity churches. Not a one of them did I ask for. They asked me. And then my prayer was, please don't let me get into this if it's not really meant for me and if this is not mine. Do you see the difference in approach to things? You may have another approach, but the thing that led to this is that I don't have to be a perfect person for God to lead. If that were the case, I'm afraid we'd all be in a heap of trouble, wouldn't we? Think about that now. But we have the love of God existing within us, and the voice, the inner voice that is within us, just like we are. In other words, whatever God's love is, you can experience it just like you are, with no bells and whistles attached, simply as you are. I know that in Southern Baptist work, I did pastor 2 churches in Southern Baptist. This is many, many years ago. I think I left the last one 60 years ago, so that gives you some idea that I've left that behind. But the idea being is that were you good enough to have this happen? Well, did you know that is never what I found to be in aging and trying so hard to get to understand the will of God and what God is like. And that's one of the things finally that hit me that is so important, that just as I am, it's not based upon the acts or good things that I do, although those are wonderful, but usually those come as a result of knowing that your relationship is acceptable just as you are. You see what I'm saying? That's really important. Let's go on from the visions. I had to put that in. We get information, and frequently from other people, of what to do next, of how to move, what a decision to make. Sometimes even the minister has an idea that's good. You never know what to expect. But one of the things that I have learned is that events, the way events turn about, have taught me more than just about anything else. And even some of those events have been negative, but do you know sometimes we go through that because we don't have to perfectly get the will of God right. Do you see? Sometimes it just sort of becomes a stepping stone. I don't think it's anything that's intended ever to defeat us. We were not ever intended, as long as we are on this earth, to be defeated by circumstances that exist, whatever they are. We keep our faith and we keep moving in the direction of God, and we keep listening to the voice within us. Besides events, the books I read, I remember once back in the 90s visiting my son in New York, and so I was right there handy, and I went to the Lincoln Center on Sunday morning to hear Eric Butterworth, and I bought all the books, a bunch of the books that he had laying out on a table at the back where you could purchase those as you go out, you know. But I found him quite an inspiration too. I was just thinking today about him, and I had a little trouble. I bruised my hip, and I've had a little trouble getting around, and I thought about him. And I think I was there for his last message. If not, it was very close to that. But 2 people helped him up the flight of stairs. It was 5 steps. I was counting them. He got to the microphone, and he was totally out of breath. And so his wife came up. He had his message apparently written out. His wife came out and read until he got to feeling better, and then he took over. But do you know, you think, well, that seems like sort of a muddled service, but there was something so powerful about what was going on. And I realized it was through prayers and through everything else put together. And so even in a situation that seemed sort of disturbed, the voice within was certainly there. And his presence made you realize how present God is. I don't know, that's something I just had to share with you though. The other thing I thought about, and of course if we were remote sort of, I would ask the congregation if you had any ideas to put into this. This time I'm not going to do that. But the language of spirit is expressed through us. It's as though there is a parallel universe. There is that invisible part of us, that divinity, that part of us that never leaves us. I mean, it's there. It's there, trying to communicate with us always. And then we have that part of us that's living in the real world, and it's sort of like Jesus said, you know, you're in the world, but you're not of the world. The real you is that parallel part of you. So, in Jesus in the Lord's Prayer, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That sort of means that the visible and the invisible flowing together. Some people call it living in the flow, because in a sense that's what it is. But it's trying to learn and listen to the voice to the extent that you are in harmony with that spiritual part of you. There's an expression that I use frequently as I'm thinking about life in general. We sort of have a surrender that comes about at a certain point, if you see what I mean. In other words, surrendering to knowing God is there communicating with us, and God is there leading us, trying to direct us in the right pathway to where we will experience the joy of life that was intended for every single one of us. But those two things paralleling have a great deal. It's the visible and the invisible flowing together. And like I said, some people call it living in the flow. But the interesting thing now, to go a little farther into the voice within us, Spirit has a language, and it's a language that is in the right now. the present moment. There was a movie, I don't know, it's been quite a while ago, and the movie, the name of it was Armitage, and it wasn't a documentary, but it was about a real event of a shipload of slaves being brought to the United States, and the law had already passed that no more could come from Africa, that if they were already there in the islands, but this particular load came from Africa, violating the law. So there was an attorney that represented them, a young attorney, and I know that somehow John Quincy Adams, who had already been president, but I think he was just advising this young attorney. But anyway, they won the case, and there was celebrations, and then he remembered and said to them, you know, he said to his interpreter, by the way, that could speak the language and also understand his, and he said, I should have told them that this could be extended, what's the word, Pat? But anyway, that it could be heard again at a higher court. I've got the word written down here, but I can't even see it. But he said, I should have told them. Would you tell them that? And he said, well, I won't be able to tell them that exact thing because in their language, there is no should-haves, would-haves, or could-haves. And when I heard that in the movie, it rang a bell with me. It was like an inner voice telling me that that is the language of spirit, present tense, very present, not about the past, not necessarily about the future, but the voice is in the present tense. In spirit, there are no would-haves, should-haves, or could-haves, ands, or buts. Do you see the difference? And so that's why that as unity people, that we have learned to form affirmations and say very specifically what we want out of, or what the desire of our heart is. That I think is the way to say that. But expressing it without using any of the should-haves and could-haves. Do you see? We affirm it as though it was already there, because whatever the desire of our heart is, we know that it exists already in the invisible world, in this parallel world that we are living in. When we understand that, then reaching our heart's desire is a sure thing for us. I mean, it can't be one of those maybe yes and maybe no things. It is a sure thing for us. It may come at a time that you didn't expect it. I've had things recently, very important things to my life, happened where it wasn't like showing up immediately, but then it did show up. I just had to keep believing, and you know how we do the New Year's Eve thing, the bowl burning, but I would always put it in the desires, you know, and 3 years later, then it just sort of falls on me, the whole thing. But we have to remember that the language that we use should be definite and in the now. Okay? One other thing to remember now is that not only is the voice within guiding us, but do you realize that the universe is constantly trying to get your attention and listen to you, listen to your response? And when I think about that, that's just an incredible thought. But there isn't a word that I utter that Spirit doesn't listen to. And there's not a thought that I have that escapes. Do you see? And this is why directing our thought toward the desires of our heart and toward what we know to be right, because with the guidance that I'm talking about, you're not going to go wrong. You're not going to be storming the Capitol or anything, probably. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. That might have been... But I do want you to know that communication It's a two-way deal, and that we need to be careful what we're saying and what we're thinking and what we're doing. Getting off track is not really a blessing to us, but you're already forgiven for it if you do. But I can remember a negative thing, and this is the thing you don't want to get involved, but I had knee surgery a couple of times where I have knee replacements. I've got metal knees instead of, I may pretty soon have a metal hip. But I was told in the beginning by people who had already had this that it's wonderful. These replacements are so good. The only thing, you can't run. And it wasn't just people that I met in construction that had gone through it. People in my church at the time, same thing. In other words, they were saying, it's wonderful, but you just don't ever try to run. Well, I had this experience. I was still working, and if you've ever been to Coppell, you know that MacArthur Avenue or Boulevard runs through this, and it's divided by a lot of greenery. And so one day I had my pickup on one side and I was on the other side looking at something or other, and I came back across and I crossed over and everything was just fine. I got over the green and I started and got about halfway across the other lane, and this little white sports car they were speeding considerably, and I'm right in the middle of the road. Well, I can run. With the right motivation, I can run. Now, well, I want to sort of sum this up by telling you that I've discovered in Spirit's communication, one of the things that I'm sure is there within every person, a voice that's teaching us and telling us how important it is to walk on this earth in kindness, in loving kindness. You might think it's for the other person, but it's more for ourselves to learn this than it is to bless another person. Thank you. God bless you.
not fear the terror of the night, the arrow that flies by day. Though thousands fall about you, near you it shall not come. And he will raise you up. Eagle's wings, bear you on. Breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. For to his angels he's given a command to guard you in all of your ways. Upon their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And he will raise you up. Eagle's wings, bear you on. Breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand, and hold you in the palm of his hand.
What inspiring meditation, message, and music. We are blessed today. Now is the time that we prepare our tithes, gifts, and love offerings for the church. We will remind you of all of the ways in which you can give. Be sure to watch the announcements to hear. We make it very easy to give. Our church is blessed in prosperity. We see ourselves overflowing with abundance that we use to bless every person here and every person yet to come. Now, as you hold your gift in heart and mind, join me in the offering blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. If you're watching us for the first time, we're glad that you have chosen to join us, and we welcome you. I will tell you personally, because long ago I joined. This community, this congregation, can help transform your life if it's the right and perfect place for you, as Reverend Glenn talked about a little bit earlier. We invite you to visit our website, www.centerofunity.org, and fill out the Connect card. Thank you. We're very glad that you've come to be with us. And we're going to appreciate one of our important volunteers. Today we remember and appreciate Keith Bailey. Keith was a teacher in youth ed for years and has volunteered his services for church maintenance for just as long, fixing sprinkler heads in the fountain, changing light bulbs and batteries, hauling off junk, and overall tends to anything that needs to be done, charging only for parts and sometimes not even that. So to Keith, we love you, we bless you, we truly appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Namaste.
Here's what's coming up at Center of Unity. Save the date. Saturday, April 3rd at 1 p.m. We'll have our annual Easter egg hunt. So bring your basket and invite your friends and family to join in the fun. Then, on Sunday, April 4th, we are excited to announce that we'll have in-person Easter services. Bring your own chair and join us for a sunrise, 7 a.m., or reserve your seat and join us in the sanctuary at 10:30. Live streaming will continue. Visit our website or the Center of Unity app to reserve your seat. Next Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., we will need your help to prepare our spiritual home for Easter and in-person services. We'll focus on the sanctuary and church grounds. Come out for any amount of time that works for you. Everything helps. Kids are welcome too. Can't come on the 27th? No problem. We're here at the church Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So contact Nicole Sweat to coordinate another time to come out and help. Sign up by visiting our website or the Center of Unity app. Next Sunday, we'll have another virtual town hall meeting at 1 p.m. Come get news, ask questions, and share your thoughts. The Zoom ID is on the screen, or you can access it from our website or the Center of Unity app. Join the book club as they discuss The Lost Children Archive by Valeria Lucelli. The novel won multiple fiction awards in 2019 and was a National Book Critics Award finalist. All are welcome to attend. The Zoom ID is on the screen, or you can access it from our website or the Center of Unity app. Every Tuesday at 11:30 a.m., Reverend Linda leads a metaphysical Bible interpretation class on Zoom. Each class is self-contained and all are welcome to join. The Zoom ID is on the screen, or you can access it from the website or the Center of Unity app. Every Sunday, we gather on Zoom before church to say hi and catch up. Come join us from 10 to 10:25 a.m. The Zoom ID is on the screen, or you can access it from our website or the Center of Unity app. There are multiple ways you can make a donation to the Center of Unity. You can drop your donation off at the church, mail it to our P.O. box, visit our website, use the COU or Venmo app, or you can text 817-606-8768 and follow the prompts. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Pat and Glenn. That was absolutely fantastic. Glenn, we're going to be listening and living in the now, man. That was great. It was good meat. No offense, Mary. I know I said meat earlier, but for those vegans here, it was all good and rich and nourishing stuff. Right. Bob, why don't we do our peace song?
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And as we go out there this week, let us remember our prayer of protection. Let's do it together, shall we? The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you. See you again next week.